I think I need a 6-hour show today. We'll bump Ray Stevens back to noon, and he can do 4 hours in the afternoon. How's that sound? Good morning, 7:05. It is great to be here on KCMO 95.7 FM, streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So last night, the debate happens. It's airing here on KCMO. I'm out at the watch party in Overland Park with my friends over at Kansans for Life. And like 25 minutes in, I'm like, okay, Trump's got this thing to a draw. Everything's going fine. He got through abortion pretty well. Of course, ABC was going to bring that up second after the economy. I thought he beat her on the economy. She had no answers on how to fix an economy that she helped ruin with Joe Biden. So everything's kind of going well, right? Then immigration comes up. And this is, once again, right in Trump's wheelhouse. Now, you know she's going to dodge, and the media or moderators are going to help her out on the topic. We all understand, and we can all see this playing out right in front of our eyes. But then what happens? This was by far the biggest misstep for Donald Trump of the evening. And it was when talking immigration, he talked about this social media report of Haitian immigrants eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. Now, it's important first to talk about what led up to this. What led up to this was the bait from Kamala Harris, where she gets asked about basically, why haven't you shut the border down? Why did it take you 3 years to do anything on the border? And she uses her time to get under Donald Trump's skin. And that's what set him up. He was pissed. He started having to go off on his rallies because she threw out the bait, and he took it.
Not tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So right there, right? That's what you know. You start questioning Trump's rallies. You start saying people are walking out of his rallies early. That is going to get to him. Now, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. The answer there from Trump is simple. You say, David, meaning David Muir, she didn't answer the question. That's because she can't answer the question. Because her and Joe Biden have allowed 12 million Americans to cross this border unchecked. She can try to talk about my rallies. The reality is this: if he wants to throw in a zinger, I've done bigger political rallies than anybody in modern American history. But back to the question you asked, David. The question you asked was about this border. And their failures along the border have led to destruction and demise in communities across the country, and have led to the death of young women in particular around America who have been killed by people who are only in the country because of the failures of Joe Biden and my opponent on this stage right now, like Laken Riley at the University of Georgia. That's game, set, match. That's not how it went.
On that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so, that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border?
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject.
All right, so he's getting worked up, right? He's getting pissed, and then he goes all out.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as
back to the rallies
reason
now.
They go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
That was Donald Trump last night. So the eating dogs thing, right now it's just a social media rumor. People at city council meetings have claimed it's happening. The police in Springfield, Ohio, do not have any record of it. Now, some of you are talking about body camera footage that you've seen and you've sent to me. Okay, there is a body camera footage that exists on social media of someone allegedly having eaten a cat. Okay, but that person is an American citizen from Canton, Ohio. Stop seeing videos on social media and thinking it's confirming a narrative. And by the way, there's no need to do that when you have credible, fact-based stories of young women who have lost their lives at the hands of illegal immigrants who have no business being in the country and who only are because of the failed policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And no offense to cat people, but I care about human beings more than I do cats. The human being story is more compelling anyway. Like, yeah, it's wrong if Haitian immigrants are biting off ducks' heads at the ponds in Springfield, Ohio, but I've got human beings, American citizens who have lost their lives. It's a more compelling story anyway. And it's fact-based. He could have had the names of Laken Riley and others who have been killed either like she was, heinously on a running trail at the University of Georgia, other people who have lost their lives in car accidents, other people who have been, assaulted, abused. There's a long list of people and prominent stories in this country who have struggled and suffered and lost their lives and lost loved ones at the hands of people who have no business being in America and are only here because of the horrific border policies of the people in charge. One of them standing on that stage last night. So as I'm sitting there watching that was a moment for me when I said, what is going on? What is going on? We are missing the point and the huge opportunities that exist. Laken Riley's name was never said by Donald Trump. But instead he talked about the dogs in Springfield, Ohio. And I'm a dog owner. I love my dog. Woody's the best. We found him under a car in Woodward, Oklahoma in 2012. He's now 12 years old. I love him to death. But I think human beings matter a lot more than pets. And when the human being story is real and the pet story isn't, well, I know which one I'm going with. So that right there was one of those moments where I said to myself, oh, man, that was the missed opportunity of the night. And it was in the first half hour, too. So it was one of those things where it mattered because people were actually watching. I don't know how many are watching by the end of it. I think it's one of those things where people catch 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then they start to kind of peter off and fade out and go back to Netflix. But that one right there was where I said to myself, what are we doing here? Now, what does it mean for November 5? Not as much as some people are going to make it out to be. But, man, that should have been one where he just owned her on that stage on that issue. And instead it turned into social media rumors on eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. 913-408-7957. We'll get to more of you. A lot of things to get to this morning. Listen, the Taylor Swift endorsement came out late last night. for Kamala Harris. We'll hit that in 20 minutes. Don't worry. We're going to get to it. It is, of course, the now 23rd anniversary of the September 11th attacks. And that was a moment that was missed out on last night. So we will get to all of that. Bill O'Reilly in 1 hour. Tucker Carlson tickets in a half hour. Pete Mundo on 95.7 FM KCMO and streaming all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app. 7:22, good morning. Post-debate Wednesday on KCMO. I want to get to you. Let's start off with Brandon in Bates City. He's been waiting patiently. Brandon, good morning. You're on KCMO.
Thanks a lot, Pete. First of all, your analysis on last night's been spot on, and the responses.
Brandon, hey, hang on there, my man. Just hang tight. Let me repatch you in. All right. Can you hear me now? You got me? No. Brandon, I am so sorry, but the phone is shot. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, there you go. You're loud and clear. If you weren't waiting for as long as you were, I would have dropped you, but you know what? I gave you a little runway. So go ahead, take it over, give me your great point.
I appreciate it. Yeah, your analysis has been spot on from last night, and your responses that Trump should have used, are great as well. The thing that, they've been saying that he hasn't been connecting with suburban women, and one thing that I would like to get Kamala on record is how does she feel about these boys that want to identify as girls playing in girls' sports? Because I think if some of these women thought that there are going to be these dudes in the locker room or taking the spot of their daughter on their volleyball team, that might be enough for them to overcome the fact that, he's a bully or mean or whatever, they're thinking there. The other thing is somebody needs to press Kamala on when did she realize that Joe was unfit to be the president, because she's either going to sit there and say that she thinks that he still should be, which would obviously she's missing that, what everybody else is clearly seeing. But then if she goes back and says at some other point, it shows that she was complicit in covering up the fact that this guy was not fit to be running our country.
Yeah.
And finally, the one thing, the ACLU questionnaire about taxpayer-funded
gender transition surgeries for illegals.
Gender affirming, yeah. Well, I think I've got a compromise in that regard that maybe Trump and everybody else could get behind, and that's taxpayer-funded castrations for illegal immigrants who are convicted of rape or child molestation. And that might even deter some of them from coming over here. So anyway, that's all I got. Thanks a lot.
I would just send any of the criminals back before it gets to that point. I don't think the dudes and girls sports thing needs to happen in this election cycle. I mean, if you want to talk about safety and security for people in the suburbs, inner city, rural area, all you got to do is talk about the fact that you do have violent criminals and people on the terrorist watch list who have come into this country across the southern border the last 3 years. You want to talk about safety, this applies to men, women. Listen, the whole transgender thing is obviously a topic and an issue. But the way to connect on safety and security, I think, is through the border crisis. Not like on the 0.1% chance that your daughter ends up in a locker room with some dude who thinks he's a chick for a day or something like that. I just think there are many more real-life consequences and real-life examples. Laken Riley, your daughter, she goes to a university. She's going for a run on a morning, and, that happens to Laken Riley at the University of Georgia. That's a real-life example. You don't need to make up and go down the road of, well, what if your daughter is in a locker room with a guy and that, now I'm not saying that's not important, but, man, I got many more powerful examples that can relate to moms and dads on that front. 913-408-7957. Paul in Kansas City, go ahead.
Hey, Pete, a couple of points that I thought he missed. I didn't hear him get on her about price controls. I didn't hear the word transitory. When they lied to us that inflation was transitory, he should have nailed her to the wall on that one and stayed on what the pain caused by that phrase of transitory when they knew it was not true. Also, the border being secure. He should have said, well, ma'am, you said the border was secure. That was a lie. He should have just stayed, especially economics, $1 trillion in regulations. Ma'am, you wrote those regulations. You guys approved it. You cast the vote for the Inflation Reduction Act and dump money that started the fire in inflation. That's all he had to do.
Yep.
And I will close with this. My big take on the big winner is Special Counsel Jack Smith, big loser, the state of Israel if she gets into office.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Pierce in Leavenworth. Go ahead, Pierce. You're on KCMO.
Hey, Pete. Good morning. I got 3 points. I'll try to keep them short. I guess the first one would be the hosts were fact-checking Donald Trump in real time, and I don't think I heard them one time tell Kamala Harris that she was lying about something.
Never.
A second thing would be that they were asking her easy questions, and when it came down to the border question and about the deal of the 1,500 border agents, I believe during that deal, like the negotiations, they were talking about giving a bunch of aid to other countries in that same bill, and there was no way that we could afford it at the time, and I think that's why that Republican said no on that, so now they're trying to use that as an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yep. No, you're right about both of those things, Pierce. First off, the numbers have been run, and Kamala Harris was never fact-checked. I think Donald Trump got like half a dozen of those. And when it comes to the bill, and they've always promoted this bill that would have gotten more border agents, it was a bad bill. There was a lot of amnesty in the bill. There was a lot of other nonsense in the bill. And getting in the weeds on that is never going to be Donald Trump's forte, but it would have been nice if we got a little bit more on that front.